you all for joining us today. I'm Congressmember Judy Chu. I want to thank the incredible advocates for joining us and for sharing their stories. And I want to thank my colleagues, Representatives Omar, Tlaib, and Carson, who will be joining us at a certain point. And I want to thank them for their hard work, not only in helping in their assistance in ending the Muslim ban and in advocating against any future discriminatory bans. I also want to say thank you to Senator Coons, who was unable to be here today, but has been our champion in the Senate. Today, we are gathered to recognize the anniversary of the first implementation of Donald Trump's Muslim ban and the impact that this harmful policy has had on the Muslim community. This cruel order limited people from primarily Muslim-majority countries and later additional African countries from entering the United States. It was plainly rooted in prejudice, and it caused a great deal of pain to families who'd worked here for years and went through the legal vetting process to earn a chance at a better future here in the United States, only to have that opportunity to immigrate ripped away from them, sometimes at the very last minute. 6 years later, we are still working to undo the harm caused by the Trump administration, as over 41,000 visa applications were denied due to the Muslim and African bans, forcing these applicants to start over from square one. These were people who'd gone through the process and cleared one of the most exhaustive vetting systems in the world. But because of the anti-immigrant agenda of the previous president, they were needlessly kept apart, forced to miss weddings, funerals, graduations, and births. This happened to Rashad from my district, whose Iranian parents were kept away from meeting their first grandchild. And another constituent, Ismail, who was separated from his wife and newborn daughter in Djibouti for 7 months because of this plan. I cannot forget the pain in their voices as they waited for a chance to see their loved ones again. And that pain is the legacy of the Muslim ban. But if the last few years have taught us anything, it is that in-person connection with our loved ones is essential, but by no means guaranteed. That's why I'm glad President Biden rescinded these bans on his first day in office. And I'm proud that the House of Representatives overwhelmingly passed my bill, the No Ban Act. We need Congress to pass the No Ban Act because it will ensure that no future president can ban people from coming to the United States simply because of their religious beliefs. This important bill provides important checks on a future president by ensuring that he or she provides evidence on why a person or group of people would be a threat if they entered the United States, and requiring that Congress be briefed if any sort of ban is necessary. I'm also proud that the No Ban Act made history as the first ever civil rights bill specifically protecting Muslim Americans, and that it passed the House. I will always be proud to stand with the Muslim community, and I'm so pleased that I could join and take part in today's event. As always, America's future is in accepting immigrants and rejecting prejudice, and so I remain in this fight with everyone here to protect and secure that future. And now, I would like to turn it over to Congressmember Rashida Tlaib. I'm called my wonderful partner in passing the No Ban Act.
Thank you so much to the incredible leadership of Congresswoman Chu. We all know the twice impeached former president's Muslim and African ban was rooted in hate and led to increased xenophobia and Islamophobia in our nation. The ban, as you all know, separated many families and contributed to ongoing dehumanizations of Muslims and Muslim Americans. I know numerous stories within my own district, even for folks trying to reunite, they're literally now not able to be accessed the lottery, and so many thousands of families, especially many of my residents from Yemen that were directly impacted. We all must continue to reject hateful rhetoric and policies that seek to divide us based on our religion, ethnicity, skin color, or who we even love. I am proud mother of 2 Muslim boys, and I have a painful memory still of my 9-year-old, at the time he was 9 years old, indicating that he would hide his faith because of the hateful actions and rhetoric that is coming out from many, many folks in leadership. That feeling should not be a reality for anyone, especially as a mom, hearing your son say, well, I'll hide it so that I'm not going to be directly impacted. So I'm proud to be a person that is standing up and saying, let's pass this policy in both chambers. And I am incredibly proud that President Biden repealed this hateful Muslim and African ban as one of his first actions, as Representative Chu mentioned. But we have to do more to combat racism, xenophobia, Islamophobia, and hateful policies. We have to also codify it. Today, on the 6th anniversary of Muslim and African ban, I call on my colleagues to pass the Muslim No Ban Act, which would prevent any policy like this ban from ever being implemented again. We owe this day to many who took action to push back against the previous administration and their policies, again rooted in white supremacy and white nationalism. I send my gratitude to all the advocates, many of which are here, coalitions, folks that continue to organize outside the halls of Congress. Thank you for coming together. Thank you for all of those who showed up to the airports across our nation. I was one of those sitting there holding the sign, not realizing that one day I would be serving in this chamber. I had no idea, Judy. I was holding that sign at the airport that, and now I got to be here to help make sure that it gets done. So again, we'll continue to build these coalitions and combat racism and hate in our country. And again, I can't thank our leadership enough. With that, I want to introduce, I'm going to go, do I go to Carson? Okay. I want to introduce Representative Andre Carson, who doesn't need a lot of introduction, but he really has been an incredible big brother and protector. I want to tell you all, I don't know if Judy ever notices, but when Ilhan and I and Andre are kind of talking in the back of the caucus, we get some looks. It's like the Muslim caucus is talking. And so we kind of sometimes do it for fun. So we really appreciate it. It's not in our heads. We can tell you. I'm positive. So with that, Andre Carson.
Thank you, Rashida. Rashida is just so phenomenal. She's so brilliant and authentic, and she calls me her big brother, and I am. But sometimes I feel like she's a big sister and a life coach. So I want to thank her, and I thank Representative Omar, and thank you to the No Muslim Ban Ever Coalition, our friends at CAIR, Engage Action, ACLU, all of the advocacy groups, and my neighbor and good friend and leader in our community and the global community, Representative Judy Chu. Thank you, doctor. Thank you. A psychologist. Yes. Whether we're talking about mass shootings, gang activity, or assaults against any group that is considered other, threats are everywhere. Today, we remember an important day in history for Muslim Americans and Muslims around the world. The Trump administration's ban may not be in place today, but the impact remains. Hate crimes persist, fear of the Muslim community is still present, and former President Trump relied on fear as a weapon. Folks let the normalization of hate embolden them. They became radicalized and they mobilized. Trump tried to make this ban an issue of national security, but the truth is, here are the real threats to our nation. Dangerous rhetoric, actions taken to ban Muslims from traveling, inaction when it comes to protecting our brothers and sisters. Our aid to foreign countries shouldn't depend on whether that country's residents wear a hijab or not. We have so much work to do. On a day where we could feel dejected and hopeless, let us feel strengthened by our resolve. We will not allow racism, xenophobia, or Islamophobia to persist in our country. And so today, although it represents a horrific anniversary, it is not going to be a day in the past. It's about where we go from here. So we're going to keep fighting to keep our country safe for all Americans. And we're honored to have so many allies and colleagues committed to doing the same. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Israt Shakir, and I'm a campaign strategist at the American Civil Liberties Union. But most importantly, I'm a Muslim American, Syrian American woman who was impacted by the Muslim ban when it was implemented as an executive order 6 years ago. I never imagined being torn away from my family and having my extended family miss incremental and special moments in my life, like my wedding, like the birth of my first child, and I continue to see the impact and the pain that this legislation, this executive order has caused, that we're trying to remedy through legislation, as the members have already spoken, but also calling on President Biden to also remedy the pain and the impact. On January 27, 2017, President Trump enacted the first Muslim ban, banning people from 7 predominantly Muslim countries entering the U.S., and later expanded it to include 6 predominantly African countries. 6 years later, even after President Biden rescinded the Muslim and African bans on his first day in office, thousands are still separated from their families and caught in a black hole of administration delays with little information and no recourse to repair this damage. Many denied entry by the ban spent all of their savings and sold family heirlooms to afford visa applications and related travel costs. Today, we are delivering a petition signed by 33,000 community members and an organization sign-on letter to the administration urging them to establish a fair and effective process to reopen and reconsider applications from people who were denied an opportunity to reunite with their families in our home, the United States of America. I want to pass it over to Representative Ilhan Omar, who needs no introduction, but represents Minnesota's 5th Congressional District in the House. She was sworn into office in January 2019, making her the first African refugee to become a member of Congress, the first woman of color to represent Minnesota, and one of the first 2 Muslim American women elected to Congress. Let's please welcome her over.
Good afternoon, everyone. It is hard to believe that over 6 years has passed since Donald Trump first issued an executive order banning people from 7 Muslim majority countries from entering the United States. With these bans, Donald Trump did not just violate the Constitution and subject thousands of refugees and immigrants to danger in their home countries. He fanned the flames of hate and making all American Muslims feel like we were supposed to be powerless. I am thankful to the Biden administration for repealing the Muslim ban on day 1. Next, we must pass the No Pan Act into law to ensure no future president has the ability to ban people because of their religious affiliations ever again. I also want to highlight the fact that the former president did not only campaign on banning Muslims, but follow through with it. Just shortly after getting sworn in, I too was elected at the same time he was, and it was the first press conference that I did as a Minnesota legislator to speak out against this ban. As someone who came from Somalia, one of the countries on the ban list, and someone whose mother's family comes from Yemen, another country that was on the Muslim ban list, I too understand the impact that so many of our beloved communities have felt. And I think in order for us to move forward as a country, we have to acknowledge the damage that this ban has done to our standing around the world and to the people of this country, and assure that not only do we remedy those damages and harms that were caused, but move forward with the guarantee and security that something like this could not happen again. So with that, I think I yield back.
Yes. Thank you, Representative Omar. Next up, I want to introduce Diana Konate, Policy Director of African Communities Together, where she works to ensure that the interests of African immigrants are considered in federal immigration policy.
Good afternoon, everyone. Oh, thank you so much. Sorry, it's so heavy. Thank you, Representatives Chu, Talib, Omar, and Carson for your comments and your commitment to our communities. And thank you also to all of you for coming today to join us to hear about what continues to be at stake if the administration does not take action to redress the harms of the Muslim and African bans. My name, as was mentioned, is Diana Kanate, and I'm Policy Director at African Communities Together. African Communities Together is a membership-based organization of African immigrants and their families where we empower African immigrants to integrate socially, advance economically, and engage civically. So as we come up on the 6th anniversary of the original shameful Muslim ban, we do celebrate the hard-fought repeal of the bans by this administration 2 years ago. However, although we are happy for the victory our communities have had in the fight against the Muslim and African bans, the repeal has not been fully realized because thousands of people continue to suffer harm and continue to be impacted. The impacts of the ban have been ongoing and life-altering for thousands of families. The ban have been especially devastating for diversity visa holders or winners. Given the nature of the program and its statutory deadlines, most have lost their chance at this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Thousands of families around the globe, many of whom spent life savings to complete application process, quit jobs, sold everything in preparation for their new lives in the U.S., have been left with nothing. Without more, the repeal has absolutely no effect on impacted diversity visa winners. We've seen absolutely no effort from this administration to correct the situation. This administration can and must now act to provide relief and uphold the values they promised upon taking office. It's time for the Biden administration to correct the harms caused by Trump's racist and Islamophobic Muslim and African ban. It's time for those impacted to be made whole. Thank you.
Thank you, Diana. Next, I would like to introduce Jamal Abdi, who's the president of the National Iranian American Council, where he leads the organization in building political power for the Iranian American community to secure equitable immigration policies and protect the civil rights of all Americans. Welcome, Jamal.
Thank you so much. So my name is Jamal Abdi. I'm the president of the National Iranian American Council. It's been 6 years since President Trump imposed a Muslim ban. It's been just 2 years since President Biden thankfully repealed that racist ban. But as the speakers have said, that is far from the end of our work to erase the damages of that ban, but also to make sure nothing like this ever happens again. Right now, for many in the Iranian American community, our minds are not on what the Trump administration did or the threat of an administration like that coming back in. Our minds are on what's happening inside of Iran and the fact that Iranians are demonstrating against an authoritarian regime for freedom and for their rights. And one of the most impactful and important things that the United States can do right now to stand in solidarity with them is to expedite refugee processing and to give visas to individuals who are at threat. And thankfully, we're in a position to be able to advocate for that because we don't have a Muslim ban in place. That being said, visa processing has been decimated for Iranians as a result of the Muslim ban. More must be done by the administration to redress the harms and to restore access to visas. And unfortunately, at this time of need for our community, we have Donald Trump wannabes and copycats, like Governor Abbott of Texas, who has his own version of a ban queued up to pass the state legislature to prevent Iranians and other immigrants and asylees from being able to own property if they come to this country and settle down in Texas. So the task that we face is so tall. We, as a community, as a collective group of communities, have to work together and not take our eye off the ball, because these threats to our democracy and to our communities are going to keep coming. And so that's why it's so important that President Biden do what all of us are asking for, which is to redress the harms of the Muslim ban, but also that Congress pass legislation to make this ban on the ban permanent, so that this moment that we've had for the past 2 years is not just a brief reprieve from injustice, but that Donald Trump's racist ban is the aberration and not the norm. So we hope that the White House and Congress acts immediately before it's too late. Thank you.
Thank you, Jamal. Next up, I want to introduce Abed Ayoub, the National Executive Director of the American Arab Anti-Discrimination Committee, the nation's largest Arab American civil rights organization, providing pro bono direct legal services to families and individuals impacted by the ban.
Thank you, Asra, and thank you, Representative Chu, and thank you, everybody, all the advocates who really put everything on hold 6 years ago today and took on this very important issue. We all stood united. We all stood at the airports opposing the racist ideology, that was behind the former president's ban, and we all did our part to push back against this. But the fight is not over. We celebrated its repeal a couple years ago, but unfortunately, it has been mentioned a few times this afternoon. The harmful effects still linger, and the Arab community, the African community, the Muslim community is really impacted by the bans. We have individuals that are unable to come here, as was mentioned, reunite with their families, visit their families and loved ones here, receive medical attention. Diversity visa lottery winners, who have put their life savings and poured their life into trying to get to the U.S., who all of a sudden now are not allowed in. So there's many lingering effects that need to be addressed, and the current administration is saying the right things. They've done some good things, but it's time to continue and take those words and put them into action and repeal and undo the damage. Repealing is good, but let's undo the damage that's caused by the ban and the anti-immigrant, policies that were in place. Let's speed up the delays. Let's get things that are in administrative processing out of administrative processing, and let's open up again the U.S. to members of our community who have been banned, who are not allowed in, who do want to get here. The fight's not over. We have a strong team of advocates. You have dedicated individuals that are going to keep pushing back against similar policies. But right now we need to pass, do what we can, pass the No Ban Act again, do what we can to prevent any future president from doing the same thing. And until all aspects of the ban are dismantled, we need to stay vigilant. We cannot become complacent. We need to keep fighting and pushing back against these policies and its effect. Thank you.
Thank you, Abed. Next, I want to introduce Raha Wala, the VP of Strategic Partnerships and Advocacy at the National Immigration Law Center, who leads efforts to develop and implement congressional advocacy strategies that protect and defend the rights of low-income immigrant communities.
Thank you so much. And thank you for sharing your story. Really powerful. Thank you all for being here today. I think we've heard the devastating impact that the bans have had on people's lives and communities. I'm Raha Wal. I'm the Vice President for Strategic Partnerships and Advocacy at NILC, the National Immigration Law Center. Listen, at NILC, we've been fighting against the Muslim and African bans since day one. And although they have been rescinded, the fight is not over, as you've heard from my colleagues. With our legal partners, NILC filed the first court challenge to successfully block the Muslim ban in 2017. As we know, things have played out in ways that are much more challenging for our communities, but we've been working in the courts, in the halls of Congress, and alongside Muslim, Black, Brown, and AAPI leaders who have really been carrying this fight forward to ensure that these hateful policies, and let's not mince words, these are hateful, cruel policies, do not go unnoticed and unchallenged. Today, as we reflect on 6 years of tireless organizing and advocacy, we're proud to continue this effort in partnership and solidarity with so many courageous leaders, including many of our leaders here today who have led up the No Muslim Ban Ever Coalition, our partners at CAIR, the Bay Area chapter, Empower Change, Asian Law Caucus, and everyone else who's been with me here today. Thank you so much for all your work over the years. And of course, a big thank you to our congressional champions that are with us here today. Champions of the No Ban Act, but so much more on behalf of Muslim communities and African communities. Let's just be clear, the No Ban Act, we need to pass it. It's the only sustainable way to prevent future abuse of the executive authority underlying the Muslim and African bans, but we also have some important asks for the Biden administration. There's stuff that can be done right now. So we've accomplished a lot, but we need the Biden administration to step up and act with urgency to follow through on the unfinished work that started with rescinding the bans. Let's be clear about what the impact is. We've heard a lot of stories today. My family from Iran that have been impacted by the ban, but so many folks from different places and walks of life have invested their entire life in one single opportunity that's been unjustly denied to them to live their dream here in this country. And we also remember today the patients that were barred from seeking life-saving medical treatment here in the United States. Completely unacceptable. And we talk about our family members, right, who were prevented from seeing their loved ones before they passed. Incredibly cruel, incredibly sad. And all this in service of a discriminatory and hateful agenda of the previous administration that President Biden rightly condemned. There is no reason, I just want to be clear, there's no reason that the Biden administration, having done the crucial work of rescinding the Muslim and African bans, should not take proper measures to remediate the situation and make our communities whole. In fact, NILC and our courageous plaintiffs and legal partners in the Pars Equality Center case secured an incredible court victory this last summer that requires the administration to do so. And our communities have waited for far too long for the administration to act, and we can't wait any longer. So what are we asking? The Biden administration, it's very simple. They need to establish a reconsideration process for all those wrongfully banned from entering the United States under the Muslim and African bans. And that process should not further burden the applicants. They should do this not just because a court ordered them to do it. They should do it because it's the right thing to do. And they can and they must do it now. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Raha. Next, I would like to invite up Iman Awad, the Deputy Director at Engage Action, where she oversees the organization's national policy priorities.
Thank you, Isra. Good afternoon, and thank you everybody for your time today. We appreciate our representatives' support as we gather in front of the Capitol to reflect on this anniversary of the implementation of Trump's administration's bigoted Muslim ban. My name is Iman Awad, the Deputy Director of Engage Action, a Muslim American civic engagement organization committed to uplifting and empowering our Muslim community across the country. 6 years ago, President Trump fulfilled his campaign promise, calling for a complete and total shutdown of Muslims entering this country by instituting the Muslim ban, which has caused irreparable damage to Muslim communities domestically and abroad. The ban separated families and institutionalized Islamophobia, and the legacy of this policy still echoes even today. We are a country of laws, but also a country of values and principles, and we should not discriminate based on religion or national origin. Unfortunately, because of discriminatory practices, Muslim travelers and immigrants have been and continue to be denied entry under the pretext of security vetting. In July 2020, President Biden vowed to end the Muslim ban during Engage Action's Million Muslim Vote Summit, and that promise was kept, but our work is not over. We need continued efforts and assessments of families who have been afflicted by the ban and to grant visas to those who were unjustly denied. Legislation requiring additional oversight is vital to ensure that executive powers have the necessary checks and balances. Beyond legislative action, it is important to note that the true impact of the ban is unquantifiable. The anti-Muslim sentiment, racism, and trauma inflicted upon families cannot be eradicated with an executive order. It will indisputably leave a dark legacy that will take years to undo. Just because Trump is out of office and his Muslim and Africa bans have been overturned doesn't mean that we're protected from the xenophobic rot that festers at its core of his efforts. Today, we not only remember the harm caused by the Muslim ban and the later expanded Muslim and Africa ban, but we also call for action. We want to thank Representatives Judy Chu, Rashida Tlaib, Andre Carson, and Ilhan Omar for being with us here today and for the support on the No Ban Act. We hope to see action in this congressional session to create and pass policies to put this issue to bed. No one should be blocked from our country just because of their religion or where they come from. Thank you.
Thank you, Iman. We have a few more speakers. Thanks for your patience. I want to introduce Robert McCaw, the Director of Government Affairs Department at the Council on American Islamic Relations. He has overseen CAIR's Muslim civic engagement and empowerment programs that bring American Muslim community concerns to Congress, the White House, and federal and state agencies since 2011. Go coming up, Robert.
Thank you so much. Bismillah. Assalamu alaikum. Greetings of peace. Again, my name is Robert McCaw. I'm the National Government Affairs Director for the Council on American Islamic Relations, the nation's largest Muslim civil rights and advocacy organization. In marking the 6th anniversary of the Muslim and African ban, I'm honored to share this podium with Congresswoman Chu and members of the Muslim Caucus, Rashida Tlaib, Andre Carson, Ilhan Omar, and of course, such esteemed activists that have joined me today and have fought for this for years. 2 years ago, CAIR welcomed President Biden's termination on his first day of office of the previous administration's discriminatory, bigoted, unconstitutional Muslim and African bans. However, CAIR believes that the Biden administration needs to do better in holistically addressing to fix the damages done by the Muslim and African bans. I don't know why President Biden and the State Department have refused to fully help those diversity visa winners who, under the Trump administration's discriminatory and racist travel bans, were denied their entry, their shot at coming to the United States. Instead of looking to provide these diversity visa winners with a pathway to citizenship, and despite an August 2022 federal court order requiring this administration to do just that, thank you, Nelk, President Biden is just having a hard time letting go of the prior administration's harmful policy towards Muslim, Iranian, and African immigrants. Thankfully today, with the delivery of this petition after this press conference, with more than 33,000 signatures to President Biden urging his administration to do right by allowing individuals who were denied their chance at immigrating to the United States, we hope to make it clear to the world once and for all that America is a nation that welcomes immigrants and that we're a land of opportunity for all those who would dream of coming to our shores. So thank you.
Thank you, Robert. Next up, we have Muhammad Ali, who is the Director of Policy and Government Relations at the Muslim Public Affairs Council and leads MPAC's work with Capitol Hill and the administration.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for coming out today. So 6 years ago, the Muslim Ban Act was enacted. It was one of the most detestable days in recent American history. And it didn't happen in isolation. President Trump did so to placate a significant number of his constituents. That means that to this day, there are a number of xenophobic individuals who actually want to see this policy continue. We are thankful that President Biden on his first day did rescind it. We're thankful for congressional leaders who passed the No Ban Act last Congress, but we're not nearly where we want to be to reverse what we have seen during the last administration. Congress needs to pass it this term, and we need to see that happen. The bill go to President Biden's desk for to be signed into law. But that's not where we want to finish. That's not the end goal. The end goal is to reverse the harm done not only by the previous administration's ban, but also recognizing that kind of hatred exists and try to counter that hatred. American Muslims are unique, and in fact that they had to face the impact and face the brunt of what happened. We also have to then come together to ensure that no other religious minority or other ethnic minority groups face what we faced as a result of that, like I said, detestable day 6 years ago. So we must all come together and join forces and ensure a day like that we would never see that day again. Thank you.
Thank you, Muhammad. I want to bring back up here Abu Ayyub to read a statement from Senator Van Hollen, who was not able to attend but has sent a statement in support.
Thank you. The statement from Senator Van Hollen reads, "Freedom of religion has been a core American principle from our founding to today. But Trump's Muslim travel ban betrayed that tradition, while also weakening our national security and spreading hate. I was proud to join this coalition and others across the country and around the world to fight back, expose the Trump administration's sham visa waiver program, and end the ban once and for all. We prevailed in our efforts when President Biden was sworn in and reversed Trump's discriminatory travel restrictions on day one. But there's still more work ahead of us. Now we must resolve to ensure a Muslim travel ban never happens again, and work to confront and speak out against the anti-Muslim bigotry that gave rise to Trump's action. Let us remain vigilant and resolute against efforts to sow fear and division, and unite to protect the rights, security, and freedoms of all people. Thank you.
So with that concludes our press conference. Thank you to the partners. Thank you to the representatives who showed up and supported today. And as we always say, no Muslim ban ever. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.